Hi, Steve with Fortress Z here. What I have on display is our Fortress Z emergency water shutoff valve with a couple of sensors and a Honeywell Tuxedo touch panel. What I'm going to demonstrate today is how to use the water valve with the sensors with the Tuxedo, because currently the Tuxedo is not sporting our Z-Wave sensors, these Z-Wave sensors here. Because of that, there's a backdoor way in which we can get them to pair with the valve through a direct association, and you will still be able to use our water protection system with your Honeywell system. So first thing you want to do is clear out your Honeywell panel if you already had our devices in there. You can see here my panel is completely empty. I've got no devices, and what I want to show you guys is to set this thing up. The first thing you want to do is set this thing up as a secondary controller. The reason you want to do that is I've got a little remote, and with that remote we're going to pair all the devices, and then we will transfer them into this Honeywell. So you click on the Z-Wave settings and it tells you the background information here. Your Z-Wave controller, currently it's set as a primary controller. In order to switch it to a secondary, the far right button here, press that, and it prompts you, do you want to change it to a secondary controller? Click yes, and then you'll see the feedback that now it's a secondary. So I'll set this down for now. Next thing you want to do is, with this simple Aeon Labs remote, it's just a simple Z-Wave sync controller and USB style dongle. You could just plug that in with the micro USB, and it charges, and it holds a pretty good battery charge, and you could use this to just do some simple Z-Wave installations. So to add devices with this into a network, you just press this plus sign, and then you'll see the LED starts blinking, and so we just want to add our devices. There's that. We got the valve. It'll stay solid. That blue stays solid when it pairs the device. There's the sensor. And then I'll do this additional sensor here. There we go. Okay, so now I've got my two sensors in the device. Press any button to clear it out. And I've got my network set up between the sensors and the water valve. The next thing I want to do is I want to directly associate the sensors. It's basically a handshake relationship between the sensor and the water valve, so that if the sensor gets wet, it automatically sends a command to the valve to turn off and stop the water supply. The way to do that, there's a button on the remote here that says associate. You press that, it's going to start blinking, and you want to select the device that the sensors will pair to first. So I press that, I get the fast blink, and now I select my sensor to associate. And I'm going to do the second sensor here. And that's it. So now you have the units directly associated to the water valve. Okay, so to test the association, we are going to put the sensor in water, and got a glass of water here. I'll just place it in the water, and then you can see that the sensor will go off and turn off the valve automatically. Okay, so there you have it. We set this thing as a secondary controller. So what I want to do is I want to add the panel as a device into this handheld remote. So I just press add device, and then I hit the add device on the controller. And you can see there's secondary controller inclusion complete. So now that we've got the device in here, you're going to see in a few seconds it's going to pop up all the devices that I've got learned into the handheld remote. Okay, you can see them here. And it hasn't named them. A lot of the unknowns, again, those are sensors. The binary switch is your valve, and the unit will learn them later and it'll give them names. So we just want to go home, and now the next step, the last step, is to transfer the roles between the two devices. So right now this is your primary, this is your secondary. To switch that, there's a process to go through. So you hit the settings, system, okay, there we go, advanced, keypad test, and then at the very bottom here it says Z-Wave test. Press that, and the second option down, Z-Wave secondary controller shift to primary. So I press that, and now this goes into a standby mode while I work with the handheld remote. So I'm going to put that down. Now to shift the primary role to the secondary with the handheld remote, the instructions say to hit the learn button on the other Z-Wave controller, which I already did that, and then I have to press the button include and remove on the mini mote for 10 seconds. So I'll just sit here and press these two together, and I'm just going to hold them for 10 seconds until it completes the process. Okay, so now you can see here, role shift successful. Tuxedo will now reboot. Press OK, and it's going to go through the reboot. Okay, so the panel finished the reboot. Now if we go to check on what the changes are, we go to automation, and you can see here the water valve has been named. It gives it an open and a close button, and again the other devices are just going to show up as unknown, just because Honeywell currently does not support the sensor. So this way you've got the sensors. They still know to communicate directly with the water valve. If a leak is detected, they will automatically turn the valve off regardless of what this does. But it allows you to have control of the water valve to open and to close it. And what you could do is you can go into Total Connect, and you could set up a rule that if something turns the valve off, meaning you have a leak, if it goes from open to close, it will automatically send you an alert that something happened, to go investigate. You might possibly have a water leak. But it is also possible that somebody manually opened and closed the valve. So just to test for you guys, you've got the sensors in here. The water valve shows up. If I just press the open button, you can see the valve is actuating. Press the close button. So you've got control of the valve. And even though the water sensors don't show up, if one gets wet and detects a leak, it'll automatically turn off the valve, and I can show you guys that. There you go.